Mr. Case.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Let me just start by agreeing with all of my colleagues on the panel that I believe the situation at the border is a very critical issue. And I think anybody that walks away from that basic statement is not facing the realities. And I believe that this committee and this subcommittee can be and should be part of the solution as opposed to part of the problem. We have too many in our body and beyond our body who view this in a very binary, polarized approach, and I think that there are eminent solutions that combine the best of all worlds. So I think we should try to focus on how can we come up with a bill that actually solves this problem as opposed to worsens it. I don't want to focus there. That's what I want to say about the border. It's critical. We need to fix it. But your department handles a lot more than just the southern border. In fact, Customs and Border Protection is 19% of your total budget, as I believe is the case. That leaves 81% in an area that you feel critical responsibilities throughout our government. You're responsible for the Federal Emergency Management Authority agency. You're responsible for the U.S. Coast Guard. You're responsible for the Immigration and Customs Enforcement, the Citizenship and Immigration Services, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure, Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security, the Transportation Security Administration, the U.S. Secret Service, which is not just about protecting our president, it's about financial crimes around the world. You're responsible for federal law enforcement training centers that assist our state and local law enforcement. That's 81% of your budget. And so if all we're going to do is talk about the border, which is critical, then we're doing a disservice to the remaining areas that you're responsible for. So I want to give you a little bit of a love in terms of those areas because we cannot neglect them. Let me ask you two or three kind of quick questions along these lines. First of all, FEMA. Is it sustainable under your budget? Certainly it's been strained. It's 29% of your total budget. We certainly have seen an uptick in emergencies, and we've seen an uptick in the need for FEMA, including just the last few weeks. FEMA is in high demand. Does your budget provide a realistic, sustainable funding level for anticipated emergencies throughout our country?
Congressman, it does. The president's fiscal year 2024 budget does indeed support funding for FEMA. And the criticality of funding FEMA has never been more important than it is now. You speak of the increasing number of natural disasters. It is not only the increasing number of them, but the increasing gravity of them. I visited, as I mentioned in my opening statement, Mississippi on Sunday. And the tornado, the town that I visited, Rolling Fork, Mississippi, the tornado ripped through that small town, that poor town, in about 20 seconds. And the winds moved between 160 and 200 miles per hour. Just devastated the community. We are, in fact, investing in FEMA for fiscal year 2024, and I appreciate the support.
Okay, thank you. The Transportation Security Administration, Americans are traveling much more. Other people from other countries want to travel here. Does the budget address the incredible upsurge in travel post-COVID, pent-up demand, and what I think is going to be a sustained level of demand on the TSA? Frankly, I'm not sure it does adequately take care of that load, but I'd like to hear your comments on whether this budget addresses what you reasonably anticipate to be demands on TSA.
Congressman, if you have concerns with respect to the funding of TSA in the fiscal year 2024 budget, I'd welcome the opportunity to sit down and discuss those concerns with you, because we're very focused on TSA for precisely the reasons you express. Not just the opportunity, the economic opportunity of lawful trade, but also, of course, the security, lawful travel, but also the security of that travel. The fiscal year 2024 budget invests in our people, our greatest resource, not just in additional personnel, but in pay fairness for them, and critically in technology and other assets. Okay. We are harnessing technology in the air environment to facilitate the lawful travel and maintain its security at all times.
Okay, thank you. And finally, in the time that I have remaining, it's probably going to be a rhetorical question in the time I have remaining. When we talk about Homeland Security, I think we all know that we're not talking about Fortress America. We are talking about Homeland Security in a global context, that we need to be working with our international partners and allies in terms of joint Homeland Security efforts. I think in terms of my own Indo-Pacific, where you have wide partnerships with others throughout the Indo-Pacific in areas such as human trafficking, financial crimes, cybersecurity, et cetera. I'm just going to make a comment that I hope and believe that this budget enhances those partnerships because they are going to be critical given the malign influence out there in the rest of the world. I yield back.